what you'll get when you log into CartoDB. You'll get both the map interface, which will have a collection of all the maps that you've made, and then you'll also have a data set interface, which will show you all the data sets that you've uploaded, give you, counts and sizing, and also whether you've made them public or private. But I'm going to demo with some census tract data because that seems to be of interest to a lot of journalists. These are 2014 census tracts for different states, so I'm just going to download a random one. I don't know what stage it'll be yet. It's going to be a surprise. And so our interface lets you upload data in a series of different ways. You can connect to Google Drive. We have integration with Dropbox so that if you're storing your data there, you can also set up a sync data set, which means you give it a kind of schedule for when it will pull from your live data feed. So if you have an API that you want to update your data in CartoDB every 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or whatever, we also let you set up a sync table. We also have a data library, which is a collection of data sets that we've cleaned and formatted appropriately. So if you don't have data that you want to work with, or if there are standard data sets like administrative districts or census tracts, for example, are also in our data library. We have a lot of public data sets that we make available for all of our users that they can just fork into their account or pull into their account. So this is kind of the interface that you'll get by default when you load in your data. You'll get your data view and your map view again in the same way that you have those two toggles in your dashboard view. So this will take whatever title your data had when you loaded it in by default, but you can also edit it if you want. So let's just say we want to make a census, and then you rename your table. If you rename it in the process of making a map and you're doing an API call, it'll give you this modal that says it's going to change your API call, so you should update the code appropriately. You can also edit the metadata for your map, so you can have a description. If you make it a public data set that you want people to be able to view in tandem with your story and the map that you create, then you can add tags and descriptions and then share that data set as a link in your story. So in this case, we have a data view that gives you information about the amount of water content in each of the census tracts, and that's what we're going to visualize here today. If you want to style your map, you go to the map wizard, just the second option in the tray below the sequel. This is the default map visualization, and these options for the types of maps that you can make will populate automatically based on the type of data that you load in. In this case, we want to select the water area because we want to make a water map. So you can select the different types of how many buckets you want the data to be binned in. So if you only want 4 different colors or 3 different colors, you can select different options. In this case, I'll just go with the 3 buckets, and because it's water information, I want to change the color so that it's a little bit more reflective of the information that we're viewing. So I'll change it to a blue color. And you can also select the algorithm by which we bin this information and calculate the choropleth that's represented in your map. We have documentation on what all of these different algorithms mean, but as you can see, when you change the algorithm and reload the map, which it should do presently, it will change the view of your information. So you should be careful to investigate which is the best way of representing your choropleth when you're making choropleth. It will default to quantile, which is often the most successful algorithm applied to general data sets that are normally distributed. But sometimes you'll have a long tail distribution and you'll want to use the heads or tails representation of your data. It just depends on what you want to highlight. And then there are a lot of other options to your CSS. Allows you to change the colors that you see here and also the default colors that will be pulled both into your legend and into your map. And then again, the last part you have is also data filters, which are the same that I showed you before in the data view with SQL. If you make a multi-layer map, it will by default create a visualization for you, which is something that you can then share. But if you didn't, let's just say census create map. You can create a visualization from a single layer map, and then from there you can publish it, and it gives you multiple different options. So you can get the link, which will just link to a different view, a public view of your map. So this is a point map embedded in a blog post that talks about rent stabilization, and it's very pretty. This is an example of someone who just made this for his personal blog, but you can also do it for news publication as well. This is an example of real-time traffic data for buses in the LA metro area. So this is using Torque. I didn't demo Torque because I didn't have time series information in my data sets. But if you do have a time series column that shows time and date information, you can animate it like this and show how populations move or how information in general moves across your map.